Are you dreaming of following your national team all the way to North America for the historic 2026 World Cup? If you think jumping on a plane to catch a football match is going to be a straightforward replication of an away day in Europe or South America, you need to stop and reconsider right now. The upcoming tournament is set to be the single largest sporting event ever staged in human history. With an expanded format of 48 teams battling it out across a staggering 104 matches, the competition will be distributed across three separate host nations: the United States, Mexico, and Canada. This journey is going to be the ultimate test of endurance, financial discipline, and logistical preparation. While many casual supporters tend to bundle the entire continent into one picture, the truth is that each of these three countries operates in a completely different way. To make your trip a genuine success, you need a thoroughly honest, well-rounded understanding of what is waiting for you beyond each border crossing. Arriving without proper preparation could trigger some serious culture shocks. Whether you find yourself navigating the infamous gridlock of Los Angeles, struggling with altitude sickness in Mexico City, or confronting the sheer overwhelming distances between match venues scattered across Canada. Today, we are delivering the ultimate, definitive survival guide for attending the 2026 World Cup across all three host nations. To keep things consistent and easy to compare, we will be converting all prices and budgets directly into United States dollars throughout this guide. So pour yourself a drink, get comfortable, and pay close attention, because the information we are about to share could genuinely make or break your entire trip. Let us begin with the absolute cornerstone of your journey: the legalities and border control. You cannot simply board a flight and expect to waltz through immigration, because the entry requirements shift dramatically depending on which country you are landing in. If you are heading to the United States from a visa waiver country, you are legally required to apply for an electronic system for travel authorization, widely known as an ESTA. Without this authorization in place, you will not even be permitted to board your aircraft. The approval process is typically fast, but the authorities strongly advise submitting your application no later than 72 hours before departure. Bear in mind that even a small mistake on the form can lead to a rejection that may take several weeks to appeal and overturn. After you touch down, U.S. border agents are famously methodical and take their role extremely seriously. Leave the humor at home and answer every question directly and concisely. Meanwhile, if your squad is competing in Canada, you will be required to obtain an electronic travel authorization, or ETA. The ETA process is generally straightforward and can be completed online through the official Government of Canada website. But Canadian border control is equally unforgiving when it comes to documentation. Many visitors are surprised to discover that Canadian agents, while being notably more conversational and friendly in tone, are just as firm as their American counterparts. A criminal record, even something as minor as an old traffic violation, can be sufficient grounds for refusing you entry into Canada. As for Mexico, passport holders from many European and North American countries benefit from visa-free entry, receiving an entry stamp that doubles as your visitor permit. Historically, the Mexican border process has been less intensive than the American one, but you should be prepared for wait times of 2 to 3 hours at major arrival points, like Mexico City's Benito Juarez International Airport, when passenger volumes peak. One crucial detail: while most major airports now stamp your passport directly as your official entry record, some border crossings may still issue a physical immigration form. If you do receive one, preserve it carefully, as misplacing it will create significant complications when you attempt to depart. Regardless of which of the three host countries you enter, always have your return travel documentation and confirmed accommodation details immediately accessible to demonstrate the purpose of your visit. Once you have cleared customs and crossed the border, you will come face to face with the geographical reality of the continent and what travel writers often call the illusion of proximity. When overseas fans study the map, they consistently and dramatically underestimate just how enormous North America truly is. The United States alone has 11 host cities spread across three separate time zones, stretching from Seattle and San Francisco on the Pacific coast all the way to Miami and Boston on the Atlantic seaboard. A domestic flight between New York and Los Angeles runs close to 6 hours in the air. Trains are simply not a feasible option for crossing the country. Domestic aviation is the only practical choice, and securing tickets months ahead of time is absolutely essential to avoid both sold-out flights and sky-high last-minute fares. Canada presents a distinctly different logistical puzzle. With only two host cities, Vancouver on the western edge and Toronto in the east, traveling supporters will be heavily concentrated and funneled into these two specific hubs. The flight between Vancouver and Toronto alone spans a full 5 hours, which means that if you intend to catch matches in both Canadian venues, you should expect to spend well over $500 on that single domestic route. Mexico provides the most geographically compact match schedule, with games hosted in Mexico City, Guadalajara, and Monterrey. While these cities are undeniably closer to one another than their American or Canadian counterparts, the rugged and mountainous landscape of Mexico makes overland bus journeys between them surprisingly lengthy and tiring. Taking a domestic flight is still strongly recommended over long-distance ground travel for the sake of both time efficiency and personal comfort. To put it plainly, in the United States, the challenge is sheer volume and scale. In Canada, the problem is rigid and unavoidable geographic bottlenecks. In Mexico, the hurdle is concentrated terrain. Every single one of these three scenarios demands thorough logistical preparation at almost military levels of precision. Flowing naturally from the geography discussion is the very real and often painful challenge of getting from your hotel to the stadium on match day itself. And this is precisely where the three nations reveal their most dramatic contrasts. In the United States, the private automobile reigns supreme. A large number of the major American venues are situated 30 to 40 miles away from the core downtown areas of their host cities. The public transportation networks are widely considered inadequate for the scale of movement required, and you will frequently find yourself stuck in completely soul-destroying traffic. Booking a ride share from a central hotel to a stadium in cities like Houston or Dallas can easily set you back somewhere between $50 and $80 United States dollars. And that figure does not yet account for surge pricing during peak match times. If you choose to drive yourself, you will find that parking capacity at American stadiums is generally plentiful, but the pricing comes as a genuine shock. Several U.S. venues are expected to charge anywhere from $200 to $300 for a single parking space on match day. Canada, by comparison, is an absolute standout when it comes to public transit and stadium accessibility. Both BMO Field in Toronto and BC Place in Vancouver are seamlessly woven into the fabric of their surrounding city infrastructure. You can walk out of a pub in the city center, hop on a reliable and affordable transit service like Vancouver's SkyTrain or Toronto's TTC subway for just $2 or $3 United States dollars, and be standing at the stadium entrance within 15 minutes. The one significant downside for those who prefer driving in Canada is the severe shortage of parking spaces anywhere near the venues. Mexico lands somewhere in the middle, offering a chaotic but genuinely authentic experience. Mexico City is notorious for traffic congestion that can bring entire major roads to a complete standstill for hours on end, with rush hour appearing to stretch across nearly the entire day. However, the city's metro network is remarkably vast and astonishingly inexpensive, with fares that amount to only a few cents when converted into United States dollars. Mexican transit will absolutely get you to your destination for almost nothing financially, but be prepared for carriages that are intensely packed, uncomfortably hot, and overwhelmingly busy. In summary, the United States struggles with transit quality, but compensates with parking volume. Canada leads the way in walkability and transit, but offers almost no parking options. Mexico delivers ultra-affordable transit options, wrapped in genuinely chaotic street-level conditions. When you finally step inside the stadiums themselves, the differences in atmosphere and supporter culture will hit you immediately. The United States has invested heavily in a generation of cutting-edge, state-of-the-art mega venues. Architecturally stunning facilities like SoFi Stadium in California or AT&TStadium in Texas represent billion-dollar engineering achievements, boasting enormous wraparound video screens, full climate control systems, and beautifully appointed premium concourses. The overall match-day environment inside these arenas is meticulously clean, efficiently run, and acoustically amplified through advanced stadium sound technology. It is also worth noting that these facilities are in the process of replacing their artificial playing surfaces with natural grass to satisfy FIFA's official pitch requirements. One notable drawback, however, is that FIFA has prohibited the beloved American tradition of tailgating by enforcing tight commercial exclusion zones around the stadium perimeters. As a result, the atmosphere in the immediate vicinity outside the U.S. venues before kickoff may feel unexpectedly subdued. Mexico, on the other hand, delivers something entirely different. Pure, unfiltered footballing passion steeped in decades of history. The legendary Estadio Azteca is genuinely one of the most iconic football arenas on the planet, a true cathedral of the sport that carries the weight of its extraordinary past in every corner. The streets surrounding Mexican stadiums will be vibrant and alive, with independent vendors offering everything from freshly made tacos to blasting music from every direction, and the home supporters generating a wall of noise from the first whistle to the last. The one significant caveat for visitors to Mexico is the physical environment itself. Mexico City is perched at an elevation exceeding 7,200 feet above sea level, making dehydration and altitude-related illness genuine health considerations for fans who are not acclimatized. Canada offers what many would describe as the ideal middle ground. Canadian fans are intensely passionate about their sports, combining the rhythmic chanting traditions of European football culture with the electric energy of North American sporting events. Venues such as BC Place, equipped with its massive, retractable roof, are engineered to amplify crowd noise into something truly spectacular. To draw a simple comparison, the United States offers futuristic spectacle and technology. Mexico delivers raw, historic emotion and passion, and Canada provides a masterfully balanced, thoroughly modern match-day experience. Of course, no football away trip would be complete without addressing the drinking culture, and here, the differences between the three nations could not be more pronounced. In the United States, you are immediately confronted with the strict 21 and over age requirement. If you are below that threshold, alcohol is simply not available to you, period. American door staff are rigorous in their checks and will frequently decline to accept foreign driving licenses as valid identification, which means carrying your physical passport is effectively non-negotiable if you plan to visit any bars or licensed venues. Inside many U.S. stadiums, supporters are required to pass through a dedicated age verification station to receive a wristband before they can even approach the beer concession stands. When you do eventually get your drink, brace yourself for the cost. A single pint inside an American venue will typically run you somewhere between 14 and 22 United States dollars. Canada operates with slightly more flexibility. The minimum legal drinking age is 19 in both British Columbia and Ontario, meaning a broader range of supporters can participate. ID checks remain consistent and firm, but the overall experience is somewhat less daunting for younger fans. Beer prices inside Canadian stadiums are marginally gentler on the finances, generally landing between 12 and 15 United States dollars per pint. Both the United States and Canada have developed vibrant local craft brewing scenes, though be cautious with strong IPAs that can reach around 8% alcohol by volume. Mexico offers the most laid-back and wallet-friendly drinking experience of the three. The legal drinking age is 18, and enforcement in casual local venues is frequently more relaxed than you might expect. Outside the stadiums, street vendors will be offering the famous Mexican michelada, a beer-based cocktail that has become almost synonymous with Mexican match culture. Inside the venues, drinks are readily available and genuinely affordable, typically priced somewhere between 5 and 8 United States dollars. One particularly enjoyable feature of Mexican stadiums is that vendors actively walk through the seated sections, so you never need to abandon your seat to grab a cold refreshment. To simplify the comparison, the United States is the most restrictive and the most expensive. Canada sits comfortably in the middle ground, and Mexico is the most relaxed and by far the most affordable. However, do not allow the attractive price of a cold Mexican beer to distract you from a vital, broader financial reality. Because we now need to examine the hidden costs of surviving in North America: taxes, tipping, hotel pricing, and currency management. When spending money in the United States or Canada, the figure displayed on any menu or price tag is categorically not what you will pay when the bill lands on your table. Both nations apply consumption taxes at the point of sale, with the applicable rate varying according to the specific state or province you are in. A meal listed at $20 can grow noticeably by the time taxes are factored in. Beyond taxation, you must also prepare yourself mentally and financially for the deeply embedded tipping culture. In the United States, adding 18 to 20% on top of your already taxed total is considered a social obligation, not an optional gesture, as many hospitality workers depend on gratuities to supplement their wages. Declining to leave a tip will almost certainly result in a very uncomfortable interaction. Canada's tipping expectations follow a similar pattern, though the pressure is marginally softer, with 15 to 18% being the widely accepted standard. Across all three host nations, hotel pricing algorithms will respond aggressively to World Cup match demand, with nightly rates surging by 300 to 400% around fixture dates. A room in a budget-level property in America or Canada could temporarily command rates of 400 United States dollars per night. Mexico functions quite differently on the financial side of things. Restaurant and cafe prices in Mexico typically incorporate taxes within the displayed figure, which removes the mental calculation burden that plagues diners in the US and Canada. Tipping is warmly welcomed in Mexico, but the cultural expectation lands closer to 10 to 15%, and there is far less social tension if you leave slightly less. Where Mexico does require additional vigilance is in its continued reliance on physical cash transactions. While the United States and Canada have effectively transitioned to predominantly cashless economies where a contactless card payment covers almost every situation, Mexico retains a substantial cash-based economy, particularly for street food, local transport, and smaller independent vendors. Carrying an adequate supply of Mexican pesos is not optional. It is a practical necessity. And remember, each time you exchange your home currency into pesos, you will be absorbing conversion fees that must be accounted for in your overall travel budget. To bring everything together, we must address one final and deeply important topic: engaging with locals, staying safe, and understanding the police. The interactions you will have with local residents across all three countries are expected to be genuinely warm and positive. But the cultural nuances of each nation are worth understanding in advance. Americans are famously outgoing, enthusiastic, and genuinely delighted to meet international visitors. Do not be surprised if complete strangers start chatting with you while you are waiting in a queue. That said, Americans carry a deep sense of national pride, so be cautious about making sweeping generalizations or wading into discussions about their domestic political landscape. When it comes to law enforcement, American police operate with an absolute zero-tolerance approach and expect immediate, calm compliance. Officers are typically armed and often wearing protective equipment, and the appropriate response to any interaction is to follow instructions clearly, keep your hands in view, and remain composed. The emergency services number across both the US and Canada is 911. Canadians have built a well-deserved global reputation for courtesy, warmth, and genuine helpfulness. The host cities in Canada rank among the safest and most visitor-friendly urban environments you are likely to encounter anywhere in the world. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police and local law enforcement officers are generally approachable and happy to assist with directions or information, while still maintaining a firm and professional standard of law enforcement. Mexico is in a category of its own when it comes to human warmth and generous hospitality. Mexican locals have a cultural tradition of making visitors feel genuinely welcomed and included, and it would not be unusual to find yourself invited to share a meal with people you have only just met. However, traveling in Mexico does demand a heightened level of awareness and street-level common sense. The emergency number in Mexico is also 911, and while World Cup venues and tourist zones will benefit from extremely heavy security and police deployment, it is strongly advised that you remain within well-established and verified tourist areas at all times. Straying into unfamiliar residential districts after dark is a risk that simply is not worth taking. During the tournament, Mexican authorities will maintain a highly visible security presence to protect visiting supporters, so your best strategy is straightforward. Follow the established crowd routes, respect all local security directives, and use only officially licensed taxis or verified digital rideshare platforms. When all is said and done, experiencing the 2026 World Cup across the United States, Canada, and Mexico is going to be a truly extraordinary, once-in-a-generation adventure. The combined scale of what these three nations are constructing together is genuinely breathtaking to contemplate. Across this journey, you will immerse yourself in three entirely distinct cultures, navigate three different climates, and witness three completely different philosophies toward the world's most beloved sport. What you need to make it all work is a solid command of the unofficial rulebook that governs each country. You may encounter towering price tags and jaw-dropping futuristic infrastructure in the United States. You could find yourself enjoying seamlessly efficient public transport networks and the world-famous Canadian warmth in Canada. Or you might lose yourself in the electrifying historic atmosphere and the remarkable affordability that Mexico so generously offers. Whichever road your team takes you down, thorough preparation remains your single greatest asset. Get your travel authorizations and ESTAs sorted well ahead of your departure date. Embrace the tipping conventions in the countries where they apply. Keep your spending benchmarked accurately against the United States dollar to prevent any nasty financial surprises. And above all, show genuine respect for the laws and customs of every border you cross. Thank you for spending this time with us on this comprehensive guide to surviving and thriving at the North American World Cup. If you found this breakdown useful, please hit that subscribe button so you never miss our upcoming deep dives into everything World Cup travel related as the tournament draws nearer. Drop us a comment below right now, telling us which of the 3 host nations you are most eager to experience, and let us know which team you will be proudly following across the continent. Stay safe out there, plan carefully, and we will catch you in the very next video.